Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you are watching a reboot of TLDR, your daily dose of geek news, gadget views, and answers that you can use. Boy, how long has it been since I've said that? And yes, it is going back to daily. I changed up our goals because if you didn't catch it, not only in this new YouTube channel, but the reason the royal we, are able to bring back TLDR for you is because of a service called Patreon. And if you head over to the link in this video's description, you too can become a patron. Because of 327 people, we have a stability that I never had before. And I explain it on the page why I had to take this approach with what you guys wanted from me. And I'm able to do it. Again, thank 327 people. You may be one of them. And in fact, one of the bonuses of being a patron and basically contributing to this particular endeavor every month is that you get access to the live streams when they are streamed live on YouTube. You, if you are a patron, would have been watching me flap my gums and not hearing anything for the first 16 minutes of the broadcast because I forgot to turn on the mic. See, I'm just one guy here with a camera, and I got director, producer, talent. It's all in one, and so sometimes I miss steps. But I'm very grateful that the people who did tune in live, I finally looked over the comments. They said, no sound, and I looked at my levels. It's because I'm streaming at 10 in the morning. I don't know if I'm going to do that every time. I'm going to stream at different times in the day, though, and of course, let people be aware of where that will happen to be. If you become a patron at any point in time, thank you for doing that. I couldn't do this without you. And of course, TLDR, obviously, will be for everybody. It's just you get certain bonuses being a patron. So, I'm still kind of waking up. Let me go ahead and thank those patrons who have supported at a certain level or higher, as promised, with their bonuses. I really, really appreciate this one-on-one connection. I think this is really a better way of going with what I've been wanting to do with this for quite some time. Thank you, Courtney Ellis, Brian Roberts, Fraser Walker, Matt Pegler, Brian Brinkley. We also have Eddie. And Eddie, you met him in a Pirillo vlog a while ago. Jonathan Perez, Andrew Neocleus, he just became a patron this morning. Tony Ross, Schwazy 2013, Ross Milne, John W. Dezel, Mike LaRue, Sven Rosler, Ben, and unfortunately, Ben, I don't have your last name, Daniel Hadley, right now, Alex and Tom, Mark, Chris Miller, Mark, I gotta get your name too, because I want to make sure, maybe Mark Flores, I assume that's your last name there, based on other information. Andrew Myers, Joey Hernandez, Ulvind Soli, and Ulvind, I'm going to learn how to say your name. It's the O with the little slash in the middle of it. Daniel Spiva, Christopher Wall, Jennifer Metz, Tom Matthews, Eva Brown, Mark Hyder, Anthrit, Brandon Hawkins, and Jacob Shea. These people are going to be mentioned in every, or at least their name is going to be seen in every TLDR. At some point, I may have to do like a crawl across the bottom of the screen as I broadcast, or maybe somewhere on the back of my, or on my monitor screen. But at this point in time, I'm able to speak their names aloud. You can just join and become a patron immediately. In fact, wasn't it 327 just a second ago? Now it's 328. I love that! It's a better connection with you guys. So now, I'm promising to do between 15 minutes and 30 minutes every weekday. If you want me to go longer than that in a TLDR, it's possible. Just need to connect with more patrons. You have the power to make me talk more. Does that make sense? Well, it should, because I am able to do this for you thanks to the patrons, as well as at this point in time, because we're starting to get going with the patrons and the support that way, I also have a sponsor, which is helping me do what I'm doing and giving this to you. This whole broadcast is being also brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces by Citrix, the powerfully simple way to meet online. You know, I've talked about them before. They've been a great supporter of our community. You can share the same screen and see each other in HD video conferencing and start hosting a GoToMeeting in seconds from your computer or mobile device by signing up for a free 30-day trial. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use the promo code Pirillo. There we go. All right, so now that we've kind of established that for at least this first kind of official reboot, let me go ahead and dive into a bit of news that floated across my desktop over the weekend. One, change your account credentials if you are on Kickstarter. If you didn't catch the news, They apparently had accounts compromised over the weekend. Really simple to change a password. But what I want to use this bit of news for, if only because it's dovetailing behind the bit of news from last week with Comcast or Xfinity accounts being compromised. You should change your passwords if you have an account there. What I wanted to say is that if you have the opportunity to do a two-factor authentication on an account like you can through Google, Facebook, Twitter, you should. Because then instead of, just having one level of authentication, the password, you've got another level, one level deeper. Like, you'd have to get a text message to your phone or use an app to generate a code. Two-factor authentication is by far more secure. Not foolproof. Nothing really is foolproof at this point, but still something that you should probably look into toggling if you can for any particular account, especially the accounts that you certainly rely on more than others. Some things that also came across my desk over the weekend, geek news, and I guess I'm going to go this far and call it geek news because I was talking about this in the vlog yesterday. I've got these scents that are very strong and musky and dark, and some of the scents were inspired by Labyrinth and the Dark Crystal. I wore the Dark Crystal yesterday, and you might remember Labyrinth and Dark Crystal being, I guess, not just produced, but possible thanks to Jim Henson. Jim Henson has no longer been with us for quite some time, but his son, John, apparently passed away suddenly this weekend at the age of 48, which has me a little concerned, because I don't know how that's happened, but I am now, kind of wearing the Labyrinth scent, have it on me right now, I guess in honor. I really, that to me, the puppeteering and the creature creation, that's about as geeky as it gets, because I grew up with the stuff. Was I the only one who watched Labyrinth? Maybe not. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. Either way, I don't know what the Muppet franchise is going to do or what Kermit's going to sound like real soon, but his voice will likely be changing. Apple and Google are going to begin rejecting games with Flappy in the title. And getting back to Muppets, Sesame Street has created Flappy Bert on their website. You can play Flappy Bert, and if you hit whatever the barrier is, Bert goes, Ernie! That was a really bad Bert. I'm talking to my audience of one. Pixie, she just doesn't care. She's in the Darth Vader bed right now, I'd say snoozing, but maybe she'll start snoring at some point during this live broadcast. And I'm assuming everybody can hear me right now. Could be wrong. Oh, also, over the weekend, since this is a Monday, I received this. I don't know if I'm going to do a full-on review, but I just want to make you aware that this was even available. It's a 4 terabyte drive that you plug into your home network, shared storage, something called Central from Seagate, and with it, you can effectively automatically back up your PC. I'm assuming when they say that, they mean Windows PC or Mac, so it might work kind of like a time machine. You can access the data from pretty much anything. DLNA compatible, Samsung apps compatible, big deal for you Galaxy users, or anybody who has a Samsung device. Even Blu-ray drives could access the data here, photos, video, music, what have you. We also have support for Android, iOS, and of course a variety of other features. But the reason why I find this interesting is because inevitably you probably forget to back up. Unless you have a service or you remember, you're forgetting to back up. And it's one of the reasons why I keep a lot of my data, or as much as I can, as securely as I can, in the cloud. I try not to worry about that stuff because you're going to run into a stress no matter what. But the worst thing that can happen is, and I saw a friend of mine, Troy Rudder, post on Twitter this weekend that he had to re-edit a document that he lost in a crash. And I'm like, why weren't you using Google Docs? I don't know. I'm just saying that you always need something like this when you need it, not when you don't need it. Okay, that made sense to me in my head. I don't know if it translates well, though, on the actual screen. Slick Login was acquired by Google over the weekend, and they basically have been developing an identification mechanism using sounds. So we talk about passwords and authentication and security. If they've identified a way to authenticate you by way of sound, that is an amazing feature. So if Google's acquiring it, and Google has, say, Android devices or the Android platform or AOSP or Google Play or whatever, however Google decides to implement it, that could be a very, very powerful feature. Of course, I held up the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, and I probably should have held up the Nexus 5. because this is more googly. I mean, they're both Android, but this is definitely more googly. Did I talk about that, though? I think on Friday's beta TLDR reboot. Oh, speaking of, and before I forget, in the Nexus 5, and I wanted to mention this at the top, but I forgot. When we hit 350 patrons, so you have that power, unless you're already a patron, in which case, thank you, then I will upload for everybody my Nexus 5 review, which patrons have been able to watch for the past week or so. So if you want to see my Nexus 5 review when we hit 350, I'll upload it to this channel. So thank you again for asking, and there is my response. On The Verge today, and if people have asked, well, what's your favorite website for information, I gotta tell you, it's The Verge. I can't keep up. Those guys are so well staffed, so well funded. Definitely, they're like the antithesis of me. Like, I'm one guy in front of a camera. They are like, how many people work for The Verge? Like, an insane amount, an amazing talent. So The Verge right now is to me, tops as far as information is concerned. They had posted an article titled, "People Don't Always Read the Articles They Share." This doesn't come to a surprise to me. When we, came up with the idea of TLDR and came up with the LockerGnome daily report, we knew that people weren't reading the stuff that we were posting on LockerGnome.com. We're still posting stuff there, but we know people aren't reading. You're watching because you're not reading, which again makes me wonder, how writing is going to survive in the grand scheme of things, and I think it will, but I know you obviously appreciate audio and or video in terms of transmission of information, and what do I have to add to the mix? And some people have said, well, if you're just reading the tech news, what do I care? Well, if you care about my opinion, and you value my opinion, well, then you care. And obviously, if you've watched this far into the video, you care a little bit. How much do you care? It's up to you. Am I worth, I keep saying this, am I worth the price of a bottle of water a month? I'd like to believe so, and if I'm not worth that to anybody, then I definitely have to keep working on making myself valuable in the marketplace. Another thing that happened, Apple has opened its first store in Brazil, a key market. I don't know if we have any Brazilians out there watching. We might if they speak English. I do not speak Portuguese, barely understand Spanish. Huge technology community in Brazil. I mean, not only is it a large country, but they got geeks coming out the ears. When I first learned this, eons ago, this was like the late 90s, I had no idea, because I don't serve that market directly. I don't speak the language. But for Apple to open up a store, I think it opened up a lot of opportunities, certainly for Apple, because that is one of the things, as much as people want to compare iOS and Android, one of the things that I think sets Apple apart is that level of support, that you could walk into a store and get a problem addressed, whether they're going to answer a question or solve it to your satisfaction, irrelevant to this point. Google doesn't have stores. Google's got okay customer service. Apple's got fantastically better customer service, which isn't to say it's the best customer service on the planet. But when you have a store that someone can walk into, even though, hey, just like a lot of you out there, I like getting things online. We love buying our groceries online. We love doing everything online. But sometimes you need to physically be in the same room with somebody else. And that is what helps set Apple apart. In the array of devices here, I'll even hold up, say, hang on. I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to throw a Windows phone at you right there. And it's obviously a Windows phone because you can see it in the dark. Cheese and crackers! This was great when I was highlighting stuff in my biology textbooks in high school. I'm not sure for a phone color, though. Microsoft has stores. That may have helped, although I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's helped the sales of Windows 8. That's a completely different battle. I will point you to the recent articles that Paul Thurrott has been writing about Windows 8.1 Update 1, which is going to be released to the wild, I guess, here in the next month or so. So let me go ahead and check to make sure. Yes, everybody's watching. McDennis170 says, I'd say anyone that watched the first 16 minutes cared a lot. I agree. And thank you for that. That was quite an interesting little bit of life there. So I've promised to go between 15 minutes and a half hour at this stage for the amount of patrons that we have. So I know I'm hitting the beginning part where I may start winding down depending on if anything else comes across my radar. Go ahead, if you guys have any questions in the live stream, go ahead and ask them, and I'd be happy to answer. And by the way, speaking of patrons, someone who just became a patron a few minutes before I broadcast, because we talked about it yesterday, a man named Jerry Berg. You may know him as Barnacles Nerdgasm. We've now hung out, I think, a total of 10 hours over 2 days. We got together over coffee. I think I showed that in the vlog yesterday in the other channel, the vlog channel, which it is now. But the interesting thing is he came over yesterday just hanging out. He wasn't even expecting, I wasn't expecting it to happen. And he ended up staying here. We talked for about 6 hours, almost straight, I gotta tell you. So he is supporting the Patreon campaign. I'm sorry, there we go. My screen may be a bit bright for this particular broadcast. Hell, my Stormtrooper hoodie may be a bit bright for this broadcast. There we go. See, I can zip it up, but I'm not going to do that right now. You saw how hot I got with Friday's broadcast. That was insane. So thank you, Barnacles specifically, because he's a fellow content producer. David DeFranco is also a patron. Peter Hollins, an amazing singer who's also on patreon.com for his own stuff, is a patron. I appreciate that because content producers understand the stresses and strains of what we go through. And I'm so happy to have this opportunity to finally do something for you that you want me to do and do it so that I can do it. I've explained it at length in writing, so if you don't want to read it, suffice it to say, I've already explained it, even in video, specifically to the patrons, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, because that's just, who wants to beat dead horses? It's really kind of disgusting. You don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. Hell, live horses scare the bejesus out of me. Dropbox is now accessible in China after it was blocked in 2010. Dropbox is my choice, really top choice for sharing files these days, if only because it's easy and everybody seems to have it or at least know about it, so it's a known quantity. It's worked fairly well, although I'm not paying for Dropbox storage. I don't know if I'll ever go that far. I find it to be a bit overpriced for what you get, but it is convenient, so there's always going to be a trade-off. I'm really big into finding services that are universally accessible. So I use Google Docs to edit documents, share documents. I use Dropbox to share files, Amazon to buy media, if I do buy media, because the idea is that I know I can access it from a variety of devices, not just one platform. It's key for me. If only because I have to look at Windows Phone and Android and this is also an Android, iOS, OS 10, Windows. The list goes on. And so having that flexibility and being able to move between platforms is important for me, and I think could very well become increasingly important for you. And just keep that in mind when you tie yourself into a suite of services that require a proprietary platform. I would say, I would have said iCloud at one point, but now Apple is making iCloud universally available, so I can't really say that so much anymore. Certain things that need an Apple or require you to live in the Apple ecosystem. I think Google does a fantastically better job with engaging other platforms, but Google's business model is completely different from Apple's business model. Completely. Google's all about services, or should be all about services and enabling that. And that's one of the reasons why I have so many Google apps on my iPhone and iPad, really. It goes both ways. So let's see here. Looking back in the comments, do you think that the tech market, asks Gavin Howe, is U.S.-centric? And by the way, before I answer too many questions, let me first say that as TLDR evolves, we're still going to be doing the Ask Me Anythings on Fridays. It'll just be wall-to-wall questions instead of just tech news. It's going to be question after question after question after question. Anybody can ask questions. Certain patrons at a level, one level or above, get priority to have their questions answered. I may not be able to answer everybody or every question, but they get priority in the stack. So it's another reason to be a patron. You don't have to be if you don't want to be. It's up to you. I do not hold that against you at all, unless, of course, you hold it against me, in which case we have a problem. I don't think that the market is U.S.-centric, if only because I don't know enough about the other markets, right? I live in the U.S., speak English, this is my world, right? But that doesn't mean that the world or another world doesn't exist in South Korea, in Brazil, in the Netherlands. Whatever, any other country that's not the U.S. or that's not a primarily English-speaking country. They just have, I think, a different way of maybe using tech or seeing tech. For years, I knew, and I don't have any stats to back this up, but it was suggested that Japan had better proliferation of mobile technologies and texting and mobile phones than the US. And this is before the iPhone was released. It's kind of hard to believe that now, but at one point in time, Japan was leading in terms of technology in the hand, these computers in our hand. And these are computers, hardware, software, more of a PC than my first PC, which is VIC-20 at my grandfather's house, plugged into a black and white TV. Stop me if you've heard this before. Or a Commodore 64 as Santa brought home 1 year after it was released. So, I hesitate to say that, yes, I think the world's dominated by the U.S. I think we've got some of the leading companies coming out of the U.S. Apple certainly dominates. Google, yes, Microsoft as well. But then you also have other fantastic companies like Samsung, and they're pushing the envelope too. So, and it's not to say that, companies don't have a presence in other countries or, other companies don't have a presence in this country. But, I'd be really hesitant to answer that question in any other way. I just don't know it well enough. But I believe that culture in many ways dictates what happens, as well as the youth. I think the youth and their use of technology drives adoption. Snapchat, hello. I don't get it. I'm too old for Snapchat, maybe. Or maybe older people are now using it for other reasons. I don't know. It's not for me. What would make you switch or use Windows more, asks Emmanuel Acosta. And I'm going to go ahead and round it out after this question. I don't know. In fact, I had this conversation with Jerry yesterday. He works for Microsoft. He's mentioned that in public before. I handed him he came over, what's all this Apple stuff? He carries an iPhone, but I handed him my Surface Pro 2. He's like, oh, okay, you redeemed yourself. He didn't even have that. To me, I don't know if it's a matter of switching. It's a matter of accommodating. And when Microsoft and Windows can offer something that I can't get any other way, I'm interested. Anymore, all I need is a web browser. In which case, well, why wouldn't I use a Chromebook? And I do. And Diana loves her Chromebook. And now, as far as tablets go around the house, if it's not my personal tablet, I much prefer Android for one reason. Number one, they're affordable. Android tablets tend to be a Nexus 7 or what have you. But I prefer Android because of one reason. As a tablet for use around the house with many people. Accounts. So Diana can log directly into her account, get access to all her stuff. I can log directly into my account, get access to all my stuff right there from the tablet. Great house tablets. So, I don't know if it's an answer of, what would it take to get me to use it more? It's difficult because Microsoft is kind of far behind where they were in terms of engagement with the user, and that is slipping away bit by bit, piece by piece. I think the best direction for Microsoft to go in is to double down on services. It used to be SkyDrive, now it's OneDrive. They had to rename it because apparently there's another company that had the name SkyDrive. So it's OneDrive, that's a service. They've got the Azure cloud, which a lot of businesses run on. That's a service. That's an enterprise service, not necessarily a user service. But I think if they go to the direction of services, they can survive. And they can continue to release their own platforms and potentially devices. But I really think that they're going to go head-to-head with Google, but services is going to be the best way to go as far as I'm concerned with Microsoft, because I think it's not that the desktop war is lost, but the relevance of the desktop is relegated to a minority anymore. I still need a desktop or a traditional laptop computer to video edit, to stream. I'm doing this over a traditional computer, as opposed to one of these pocket computers. The idea behind going that direction, I think, is going to increase their chances of being stable so that I could access the services from pretty much any device. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a Microsoft-only device. Maybe I'll get certain values if I use the Microsoft-only device or a device created... Hang on. Do you hear that? Oh, sure. Now she snores silently. Pixie was snoring. I put her to sleep, so maybe I should wind this down. That's a sign. When you're doing a live stream on YouTube and your dog sleeps or falls asleep on you in the middle of talking about it, it's a sign to wind down. But I think you guys hopefully would understand my point, or the point that I am trying to make in terms of Microsoft and bringing them back to relevance. It's going to be, I think services are going to be absolutely key. Absolutely. If only because I don't think they can fight on costs anymore. They've lost that hold. Certainly the hold that they used to have on the marketplace, it's gone. So whether they know it or not. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go and continue about the rest of your day. Thank you again for supporting TLDR and its reboot. I know many people have asked for this to happen again. If you want to tune in live, patrons get access to the links before they are published for everybody. And, of course, they will be for everybody, obviously, if you're watching this video and not a patron. You can join us. You can check out the link in the video description. I may very well be redirecting another domain to it so that it's easier for you guys to remember. Let's see here. I'm going to hit refresh just to see if we've jumped any in this broadcast. Yeah, 329. It's pretty good. Very happy about that. Thank you. I guess I was told that if I sign off like I used to sign off, that someone else will become a patron. And let me tell you, I may have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but the ones who really matter are these folks. So thank you. And we'll you later.